How do you teach dissonance to your students? I think it matters what the level of the student is and how long you've taught them. I'm going to give you two examples from my studio in recent lessons. One is a 10-year-old who's in middle elementary level. She was encountering a dissonance and kind of cringing at the sound, and at that level I just explained that it's a note that doesn't belong in the chord. You and I would say non-chord tone, but that's the simple way to explain it to her. We were doing this little Tchaikovsky excerpt. She's still elementary, so I do reductions like this. Here's one. But this next one was the dissonance just got beside her. And I said, well, just soften it a little bit. Just soften it. And the same thing goes for this. She's at what I call elementary level 4. She's working in this classical collections book teaching articulation. We got to this Mozart piece that everybody learns. And so every phrase has an ascent, climax, and a descent. And so the climax needs to be emphasized and exaggerated at first. And so she was exaggerating. And so I said, well, you just pull it back a little bit. And be, excuse me, a little gentler with it. And that seemed to help for her. Another lesson, the student was at the early intermediate level, working on a Bach Prelude, this one in C minor. For the first week, I assigned her to play it blocked like this. Why? Because it forced her to read blocks of notes and chords rather than a bunch of notes. The second week, unblock all the notes, but I want them with a rhythmic impetus on one. And then the next week, I wanted it a little faster. And that's where we were today. And we talked about adding pedal, but I don't have time to address that right now. So I'll just go right to the dissonance part. I asked her this week to copy down the D's and R's from my music. D for dissonance, R for resolution. And to give a little bit more on the measures with the dissonance and then back off. And this time I want one chord per measure. I don't need that extra little dip in there in the left hand. Just one chord, and it will sound like this. Dissonance, still dissonant, and resolve. Dissonance, dissonance, resolve, dissonance, resolution, and so on like that. It's just a wonderful piece. I love teaching. These masterpieces, small though they are gems. And it is just such a delight to be able to work with literature of this caliber with students at this level. So that's what I did. I had her go home, and she's going to come back and play that. And then next week, it will all come together. Etc. It's hard to stop. It's such a beautiful piece. Hope that helps you. That doesn't begin to cover all the instances of dissonances, obviously, in the literature, but it'll give you some idea how you might think about working with them and explaining them to your students.